All right, everybody, welcome back to the Furlough Podcast. On the show today, and I hope I say his name right, Barry Gaines, the
That's it.
writer, director, producer, everything for World of Wars. Welcome on, Barry. I'm glad to have you on. I know we talked about you coming on for a little bit, and finally schedules worked out for us.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This feels like it's gonna be some fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. We have one of your friends on, one of your ladies, Constance Payne. She turned me on to. It's funny how world works. You it's that domino effect. You meet this person, you meet that person, and
Mhm.
when she was talking about some things that she was doing with you, and I checked out the world of world world of worlds. I can't. I get tongue tied. Is how I
Yeah,
say it.
sometimes it can be a little hard, but it's a world of worlds. So
A
it's like
world of worlds.
singular
And
and plural.
yeah, I'm going to tell you, I have to admit, and not just blowing smoke. I know a couple of personally the couple guys I know are little small, very small indie guys that are trying to figure things out. And I watched your
Hmm.
show, and I have to say I was really impressed. And I'm not a sci-fi guy, and that's my disclaimer. Is if
Yeah.
I enjoy it, it's got to be something great. Man, you had to have a lot of buzz from the sci-fi fans on the show.
No, first of all, thank you so much for letting me be on here, Christopher, and I appreciate the love for the show. We just try our best to do what we can with the resources we have, and we just want to entertain. We always say, I always say, like, listen, we know all of the holes. If there's any holes, there's plenty, and I know all of them. It's just that our main goal is to entertain people all in all. If like any movie, even the big ones, you can sit there and just chop it up to death, and
Mm-hmm.
but still, were you entertained? I mean, they know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everything's not perfect. And when we did start this, it was people were talking about how they like the story, because my main goal was really just about, are people interested in the story,
Mm-hmm.
even before I had anybody on board or anything, and that's all I needed. And when I started putting it out there, people were interested in the story, but they still wasn't sure because it's a brand new idea.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and so I just said, listen, I just need to uh, film it, get everybody on board, get what I need, just film it, and then when it's done, put it out there and see what people think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, this story is not a simple story, but the premise is. I try to take the, I guess, the feel and idea, and not saying that I'm anywhere near this person, but like what J.R. Tolkien did with Lord. I mean, the premise of Lord of the Rings is very simple. It's just, the story, everything else, it can get very complicated. But all in all, it's just about putting the ring back in the damn volcano.
Right.
That's
Right.
all of the whole story. But everything in between is what makes it exciting. And like, just like mine, the whole thing on mine is just like, we just need to like kill the bad guy before he brings up another bigger baddie.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to find the reincarnation of three kings and a queen that lives between this world and another world. And one person has the duty to find that, which is Sophia Hayden, which is my hero.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of it, yeah, it's a simple premise, it's fun, but everything in between is what makes it um, more
As a writer
nice
and
to
a
look at.
director, this is. I've never written anything. I've never directed anything. I guess I directed this show, if you will. But uh, as a writer director, how do you start out? You mean you got all these different people, all your cast and everything. So you got different personalities. How do you figure out? Okay, how do I relay what I want to these people to to or do you or is there a level of freedom of expression that you give them, or is it a balance?
Um, I think the first thing is, I like to just sit down and tell anyone who I'm interested in them to be part of this. It's just a story. But the first thing I say, okay, this is the story, and then I them that, do you like the story? And they say, yeah, okay, cool. But one thing, as being a writer director, and I've been doing it for a while, and still, of course, trying to grow and everything. But what's very important to me is that everybody on board needs to like the genre, because every genre has its nuances. And as an actor, and since everyone's looking at you, everyone's not looking at me. No one cares about the guy behind the cameras. They're looking at people in front of the cameras. So
Right.
those people have to know the nuances of whatever genre they're in. And that's very important with me. So everybody pretty much that's involved with this loves the sci-fi fantasy genre. They watch it all their lives. They are a fan of it. So
Hmm.
then when I start getting into the nuances and the little things about their character, the world that we're going to film, what we're trying to express, I don't have to sit there and try to explain all those little things. They're already kind of maybe coming in between my conversation with them and adding to it, because they already seen something 1,000 times, or this is what they always want to see in this film, or in this genre. So we can collab really well. So that to me strengthens the story. It strengthens the entire production, and it makes everybody just be in, like, just together, and make everybody just like one big community, like a brother and sister, a family.
Hmm.
And that's what really helps me. So
Do you,
so a lot of times it's not as hard as people may think. What
mhm.
getting the people, what's hard is actually getting the right people.
Right. How do you go now for your particular one? I would say that casting calls have got to be crazy because you got to schedule it, hope for the people the same, have the availability. You may meet new people, obviously, that you've never seen before, so you don't really know how they are as far as an actor or actresses.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I have a friend of mine. Where I'm getting to is there's a couple of guys that I know locally that I think are good actors, but sometimes I think they
Mhm.
overact. So I think that when they, in my imagination, is when they come in to try out for a part, you know, could they get not get the part because they're so nervous about it that they're overacting when they probably would have been a really good piece for it if they'd just relaxed a little bit. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
run into a lot of that?
Um, in a way, I do, but not too often. If they overact, if I can see that they have what I need and
Hmm.
they just kind of trying to figure it out, but they have it, then I just, then my job is just direct them, to tell them to calm down, like,
Right.
just say that, keep smaller, don't stop acting so much and just do it.
Right.
And most of it, so it's people overacting, yeah, and sometimes too, the best can overact, because
Hmm.
every day you're going to feel different. You ate something different, you got something going on in your life or whatever, and you're just trying to, whatever you're doing is going through your brain, and just that moment, you or that day, you just feel a little off, so you start just trying to kind of push something out that you're just not feeling as you did yesterday or the day before. And it's up to me to kind of, guide that, to see that. And and so we're all probably just helping each other out through the process. But yeah, I think if anybody sees their actors or whatever, anyone is overacting, if they think they are really good for the part, then they need to just have them do something else. Like whatever they doing that moment, they're overacting.
Hmm.
Then you should have the responsibility, and just you should be say, well, let me try something else. I mean, just
Hmm.
don't dismiss them. I
Right.
mean, that's just weak on that person's part.
Right.
You need to kind of say, well, I have you here for a reason. I'm not going to waste your time. Let me push it a little bit. And if they still just not feeling it, you just kind of say thank you very much, but I need to pick somebody else.
Yeah. Though I'm not a movie guy as far as been in the movie business or nothing like that, but I'm a huge movie fan. Is I always talk about actors and actresses that to me, the ones that are the best are the ones that seem so natural. It's almost like they're not acting. And that's what I think makes a great movie. But I was watching another movie. I'm not going to plug it, but I was watching another movie the other day, and it was a great movie. And I'm getting to a question on this is
Yeah.
it was a great movie. It ran a tad long, but there was pieces in there that, even though the scenes were great, they were almost a little unnecessary. So my question is, how hard is it when it's your baby, right? It's your baby to edit, because you're like, dang, I love that scene, but man, it really just pushes. It's just too much, because you don't want everyone to see anything hit the floor. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that,
Yeah,
man?
that's a good question, Chris. That's a really good question. I think that's one of the hardest things about one of the hardest things about the process is the editing, because it's all about pace. And the day you filmed it or whatever you film is like, man, this is perfect, it's gonna be great. But then when you start seeing it all together, then you find out it's too much, or maybe you should have added something to it. But if it's something that you really want, but it'll slow it down, you're just going to have to make a sacrifice. So then you make excuses to show it again by what we have seen for the last 50 years is the director's cut.
Absolutely.
So one way or the other, you're going to get, he's like, this is mine, man. People want to see this. You know how much work I put into this?
Yeah.
But really, all in all, the biggest thing about editing. The biggest thing about editing that you don't hear too much about is ego. Ego is what kills editors, and ego is what kills a movie, because you have to kind of put aside your ego and say, okay, what is best for the fans? What's best for the viewer? What's going to get people to keep watching?
Mm-hmm.
Because, our attention span is just so much so now, we don't have much. And it doesn't take much for people to start looking at their phones in the theater or start to kind of answer a call or whatever. So your job as an editor is to say, okay, listen, this is what I have. I got to make visually the eyes keep flickering. The eyes you have to keep the eyes interested. If that's just going back and forth with another shot to a shot to a shot and another shot, just to kind of keep it, or just say panning in or something, or doing like some kind of post-production of slowly maybe fading off something, just to kind of give that moment some type of spark. That's is the hardest thing. And that's why a lot of times you may see a movie, and we all seen this before, where you see a movie and you're like, you know what, I like it, but it's something was wrong, like something was missing, but I like it, but something missing. And it's a various amount of things, but a lot of times it's the editors, because the editor has to know, what I mean? Because it's all about taste. It's just like music.
Sure.
When you go too long, if you lose your instrument too much, and if something is not coming out in front where it should be, or it's too much in front, then it should be more in the back. It's a lot of variations, right? So when it comes to movie and pace, it's about taste. So you just have to do your best with whatever with how you feel, and hopefully somebody will like it.
Now on a level of, do you think that I guess not, do you bring in an editor if it's your project? Do you bring in, like, it's almost like the old saying goes, I can help you better than I can help myself, kind of situation. So when it's your when it's your project, do you bring in fresh eyes to keep take the blinders off for you when you're doing editing or post-production or anything like that?
Not too much. What I do is I get it to where I'm really happy about it, like I really feel it's solid, and then I give it to, and then I let people see it, and then I get critique, like, what do you think? You think it's cool? You think it's too much? Whatever. And that's pretty much what I do. I do all the editing. I don't bring anyone in. I mean, when I get to a point where I have a larger budget, and then a professional editor comes in. Really, a professional editor is it's all tech. It's just machinery and
Sure.
It's documentation. And that's really all it is. And a lot of times studios want certain records and certain things a certain way for their end. And if that editor knows how to adjust it that way, and add the metadata and things like that for them, then that's pretty much all I would need them for. For them to judge what to do, I don't believe in that at all. I'm a big supporter of like Robert Rodriguez, who's in, who did Dusk Till Dawn and all that, and Desperado, and he does all his editing, because editing it's your movie. You can't have anyone think that they know exactly the pace of this. The only thing you're going to do is just look at the script and go by the script, pretty much. So if you don't know how to work the machinery, if you don't know how to work it, that's different. But you need to be there and say this. And a lot of times editors love that. Professional editors love when a director's there, because they don't have to guess. It kind of, it helps with the time, because they edit the whole thing. Then they have to give it to you, and then you come back and critique, and they go back and forth. So you'd be there forever. So you might as well just sit down with them when you can and say, okay, this is what we have. This is the shots we have. This is the notes I have. Let's put it together and see what it feels like. and it just makes the process move along. Big directors do that all the time. Like, for example, James Cameron. I'm a big fan of his. He's
Yeah.
my favorite director of all time. He does that a lot. He sits down with the editors and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'll tell you what to do. You have no idea of the nuances of my film because you don't. The only thing you know is the script. And I
Right.
think I think now a lot of directors and producers are getting into that tip. Before they just let it go. They say, oh, let my editor do it. Well, I said, that's why most of the movies are really a lifetime of shit, because
Yeah.
the editor doesn't know anything. And then you as a director looking at, say, okay, this should be good enough. Yeah, this kind of works. I think, yeah, okay, we work this out. And a lot of times too, just come into play, you know, and then they'll say, this is good. And you as the creator are going nuts because you're like, no, this is not really what I want. And they said, we don't really care what you want. We're paying you. And we think statistically this should work. And if it
Right.
doesn't, oh, then it's your fault. You know,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you
It
know,
still
as
goes
a,
back to you.
it's all your fault no matter what they do. So as an indie filmmaker, you know, any indie artist, just like ourselves, you know, we have to savor the time that we have full power, that we own everything, we do everything, because then, good or bad, at least we know in our hearts that this is the best I've done. And if any critique is coming about, I know this is exactly what I wanted. Now I can go through the process of fixing, adjusting, or growing.
Right. Well, at least you can own it at that point. You know, you like,
Right.
if it's
Right.
great, yeah, it was me. If it was garbage, it was me as well. You know, it's at the
Yeah,
end of
yeah.
the
But
day.
then you get then you get a good fix. You know, you get a good barometer about your art, about what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's a better. You can never. If you had it the other way, you can always make the excuse. Oh well, my editor did it, or you know,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
DP thought it was best. You know, that's just a cop out. You know,
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
you know.
Well,
Yeah.
let me get into gear, because gear is something that I always think about. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
can obviously you have to have the right gear, but I
Mm-hmm.
think people get hung up on gear. Well, I got to have this specific, camera. I got to have this specific, and I know obviously ones do certain things and whatnot like that, but like all the way down to the damn light pole. And I think, I think people get hung up on gear so much versus the creativity of saying, okay, well, I don't have something to hold that light up there. I'm going to do something crazy and do whatever, to get what I'm going to get. But I think people spend so much time on gear. Again, I think you should have good gear, positive stuff. But I think people just focus too much on that versus focusing on the project itself. How do you feel about that kind of stuff?
No, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, Chris, I'm right there with you, brother. I think that people, especially today, just worry about too much gear. That you're right. I mean, you got to understand that, when it comes down to filmmaking, there are two major things that you need: a camera and lighting and sound. Well, three major things. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is ancillary. Everything else is like, well, I can use this to make it look like this or whatever. But those three main things is all you need. So
Mm-hmm.
if I got a boom mic, then use that just for the sound, obviously, and to make sure that everything is clean and clear. You have to judge that and everything else. Camera, of course, can be a various amount of cameras. I mean, people have their thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I use a Black Magic cinema camera. I
Mm-hmm.
actually used one of the first ones that was a little square brick, and they moved on to the Ursa and stuff like that. But then other people use a Sony. Some people are lucky enough to have a Red camera, and Red cameras sometimes can be overrated unless you use the higher end ones. I can't say that. I mean, trust me, Red camera is badass.
Mm-hmm.
But you look as opposed to other cameras on the lower ends, then you say, why am I spending $20,000 more? Until you get to the higher end ones, like for example, what Guardians of the Galaxy was all filmed in Red cameras. The Hobbit was all filmed in Red cameras. Those are they're higher ends. Yes, that's the difference.
Yeah.
And it helps too in post-production in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think that's true, because when you are an indie filmmaker, you don't have much time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any money hardly. So the least thing you want is to have too much gear and not enough money to put it where you need it, which is the actors, the food,
Yeah.
and even like in post productions and things like that. So I think, and also too, you don't want it to bog you down, because you just have so much time in the day. And if you have to go into a studio or whatever and start to put all this extra stuff you don't need, I feel the same way too for like crewmen. I'm like, you don't need an army of people anymore. Like, stop having armies of people when you're doing anything. Because now what happens is now is more personnel to deal with, more people's schedules to kind of put together. And at the same time, then you have to have a place then you have size, then you have, space. A lot of things happen with more people. So limit your people, and I get this from Robert Rodriguez that I grew up with, back when I was like in my early 20s and stuff. I mean, he was the same way. Today, he always says, do as much as you can yourself until you
Right.
can't anymore. You can't do everything, obviously. I mean, that's just common sense. You're not going to be the best of everything, but be very familiar with what people do. Like,
Hmm.
don't let people in your house unless you know a little bit about something. Even if you're not the best of that, you're not. I mean, you need people who are, that's their skill set. But at least you be familiar with it. It's dangerous to let anybody in your house and you know nothing what they do. So, yeah, but all in all, yeah. And that's why when it comes down to gear, yeah, limit yourself, guys.
And it's funny, you made a mention, which sparked a thought in my head, and one person that'll listen to this will know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna get your feeling on this. When,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna call anybody out specifically, but
Right.
a comment was made or a conversation was had about, uh, we'll just say almost on an extra level or a very, very small, minute part. Um, and one person was talking to another person. They were talking about their project and they said, "Hey, I'm going to have this person do this." And the other person's response was, "Are they an actor?" And the initial person said, "No, but that's what they do for a living. And they're not really doing anything in the movie as far as acting of sort."
Right.
And it was funny because it was two thought patterns. One person's like, "Why am I going to get an actor to do something that somebody just does all the time as a little bit above almost like an extra with just one line, versus having to go out and find an actor or an actress to do that part?" What is your thoughts on that? Because to me, it seems like it keeps everything simple. If I'm having to go out and find all these somebody that's a true actor for such a minute part, it's almost like too time consuming. Why would you want to burn that much energy?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that person is dead on. I mean, if it's just a small, tiny part, grab your mom. I mean, just grab anyone. I mean, if it's not that big, or someone has like you, just going by what you're telling me,
Yeah,
like one line or
yeah,
something, or they
it,
kind of hang in the back. Yeah, then use somebody there, like use the grip or something. Give them some airplay.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I think sometimes people overthink what they're doing, and everyone has their own reason for it. I don't
Hmm.
want to take that away from all the creators out there, because we know it's a lot going on. But a lot of times too, they're told these things because that's all they see.
Hmm.
Um, I think more the experienced guys and the experienced women know, like, over time, how they can just start cutting the fat out, things that they don't need. And a lot
Right.
of it's just experience, and a lot of times this comes from film schools. This comes from never doing it, just seeing stuff on TV, and you want to try to match everything you see on TV or whatever. And you can't worry about that because they have the means and you don't. And even if they are at the same level with the same resources, maybe you can kind of, feed from that. But you have to look at your own circumstances and say, okay, how can I work this? Because always understand one thing. I mean, it's just like music, man, a lot of times, unless you go to a concert. No one cares about what you did in the background. Like, none of your fans, no one is coming to the theater cares about who's in the bag, what camera you're using. No one gives a shit. What they care is about, yo, did you entertain me? You know what I
Right.
mean? Did you entertain me? No one cares about all the time. I mean, us as, peers, yeah, we're into that because this is what we do. And then you're
Sure.
going to have people out there who love the behind the scenes stuff and everything else. But all in all, generally, nobody cares. So you have to understand that. So if you say, well, I can get the same look and feel, and maybe if I have to kind of shave off a little bit, but I can still get the same entertainment value with what I have, then
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to do. until I can maybe get something better along the lines or whatever. So yeah, just understand that, guys. Like if you don't go out, like you said, don't go out and get like an extra and go through the process of interviewing the whole act. If the person's going to be in there for like a couple of seconds, I mean, what are you
Yeah.
doing? You know,
Yeah.
you're, self-suicide.
Yeah, it's just too much. It's too
Yeah.
much, and I think people get hung up on those details and and little things like that. So let me ask you about this. This is my fun part. Yeah. What do you think about the people? You know, obviously you have to have depending on where you are in the country, you have to, or maybe in the world, you have to have permits to shoot and stuff like that. I'm of the opinion of if it's a big part in the movie, obviously, and you're in a big area, you got to get permits, stuff like that. But if it's simple stuff like driving down the roads and stuff like that, I'm all about the guerrilla filming, if you will, on some of that stuff. I mean, I know I know people get hung up, and I don't, and I will say this: I do not know all the rules. Supposedly you're supposed to have waivers and insurance and this and that before a distributor will put things out. But that just seems like over excessive if you got to get a waiver or something for your general public shots. How do you, because somebody's house is in the background, 100 feet. I mean, you shouldn't have to worry about waivers and stuff like that. I think people get hung up on that stuff, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know if that's something that you have to deal with.
No, I mean, I think guerrilla filming is just what it is. I mean, even large studios do it. Don't get it twisted. They do it too. No, yeah. When it comes down to first, but it's like there's two parts to this. One, the filming aspect, right? Just getting to environments and places or what have you, and just start to film. A lot of times when you're going outside, you don't need a permit unless you're doing something that's going to disrupt the flow of something. If you're going to disrupt the flow of traffic, or you're going to disrupt the flow of people entering their homes, that's when you need a permit, because now you're disrupting just the everyday life of things. Mm-hmm. But if you're just going out into a park and people are just doing whatever and you're just working around them, there's no different than you getting your camera with your family and friends and your kids and filming them running around the park. It's no different than that. And that's a fact. I mean, because I'm not going to say his name, but, I know a chief of police, and I even asked that. He was like, no, I mean, you can film what you want. I mean, as long as you're not disrupting the flow of things, mm-hmm. It's just like you being with your about family and you're having a picnic or whatever, and you have a camera and everyone's running around. It's no different than that. So that's why you don't need all of that. Now, when it comes to like waivers for the actors and stuff, the only thing I would suggest, being indie, because we're not, you're not big, like people understand your place, just be realistic. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things you're just not going to need. The only thing you would need is a release form. If anything, just get a common release form, adjust it to your company, whatever, and then have them sign it, and then you're protected that way. If you're going to do something really outlandish or something, or just something a little more to it, then you maybe want to add another clause to it, something simple. All this stuff will hold up in court just fine. You just have to make sure that the language is clear, and that can just be a sentence. It doesn't have to be a soliloquy. It doesn't have to be a freaking thesis. It just has to simply say, okay, this is what they're going to do. They said cool with it. This is their signature, and I'm fine. Like I have that too, like for, like you interview my new actress who's playing the Kayla Kovizian in my series, and she's going to have a nude scene. So for that, what I'll do is I have two contracts for that. It's just one saying just a regular release form, and then the other one saying, about how much she's getting paid and what she's exactly doing for this, right. And that she's going to fully nude. You got to be very specific. Is she going to be partially, fully, things like that? And then you just put that there, and once she signs it, you're good to go. That will hold up in court of anything. So it's not that very complicated. And us being indie filmmakers and low filmmakers, there's a lot of things you don't have to worry about, and like, don't overkill yourself. Now people say, well, if you do too much, it's not going to hurt. No, it's not going to hurt. But at the same time, you are going into that where it can slow things down. And if you're not careful, you can hinder yourself in a way. And that happens when that happens because that can happen when you want somebody, and then because you think you have to sign all these things, they may look at it like, this is just way too much. You're not even big enough for all this, and I'm not going to put myself. I'm going to sign all these things. Like,
Right.
you're not a big studio movie. You know, we're freaking indie. It's like you get $100,000 a year. We're not doing it. You know, and even then, so you know, it depends. So but most of the time, realistically, Chris, only you have to do is, depending what they're doing, just get a release form. You know, if you're just doing regular stuff, running around, talking, whatever, you're going to do a nude scene, have a clause in there for that. Everything else, you know, really don't need, you fine. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think
And
people
yeah,
get
so you,
people get hung up on insurances and this and that and blah blah blah. You know, it just, I mean, it's a lot of legal go. I mean, I know the world's a legal world, but you know, it just seems to me, I don't know. Maybe I'm a negative person when it comes to that stuff. I think sometimes we just
no, not
we
at
just
all.
kind of
Not
get
at all. I mean,
to
insurance is cool, but you know, it depends on what you're doing. You know, and that's why when it comes to sci-fi and action stuff, I mean, sometimes insurance can help, but you know, and it can. It's like it can't help. You know what I mean? But you know, just know what you're doing, man. Just be realistic. You know what I mean?
right.
So,
Well, let me
yeah.
ask you this, because you touched on it in your response, is for an indie film that's full length, 90 minutes, right? What is and you're say you're not doing a lot of special effects, and I know it, and this is going to be a hard answer. No, you look good. Um, I know this is a hard question to answer, but we're going to take a stab at it. What is a fair budget if you were going to do a 90-minute film that didn't have a lot of effects or special effects? Say it's just a basic storyline movie. What would you feel comfortable starting a project with monetarily?
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah, the top. Yeah, I'll just start with 50 grand if you can. Now, mine's nowhere near that. But
Mm-hmm.
if someone asked me, yo, listen, I'm just going to do like a drama, something like that, or, you know, I would say 50,000. And the reason I say 50,000 is because, you know, that would go obvious things of like, you know, paying the actors, because I can knock it down to 20 to 25, to 25 to 30 if I didn't have to do that. But I said, I want to be fair to the actors, you know, give them something. They're not going to get like a whole lot of money, but they're going to get something. But most of that money into your whatever location you go into. If you can cut it down, then cool. And also into the gear, into the camera equipment, because then you up it. And if you up the camera equipment, of course, then your work will look better. You know, it helps the look of it and the feel of it. You want to hire maybe somebody with a specialist in something.
Mm-hmm.
Just one, maybe one or two tops. You don't have an army of specialists, so let's get that right. So you maybe want one person, maybe a DP if you need that, you know. And some people say we always need a DP. I'll get into that later. But then on top of that, but someone who's a specialist, maybe, you know, like a wardrobe, you know, someone who does a great wardrobe. You know, that'd be a big deal. Like that will cost money, because now everyone is going to be fitted and have, you know, original wares for your production. So and then after that, it's going to be post production, you know, and then the money goes into that. So I would, and on top of that, I would say 50, and then I'll do my best to cut it back. So even if you were to say that, I'll just say 50 grand off the top, and then we start shaving it back from there. And you can probably get it down to, and that's something that looks really good. That can be doing a drama or something like that. Then you go, you know, something that can really hit Cannes and Sundance and things like that. I mean, it'll be really good. Now, what kills your money, like in those, because I know you just talked about like, you know, a drama or something like that. So no effect. What kills your money is location insurance. Those things really kill your money most of the time. Everything else you can work around, but locations and stuff like that, because people say, well, it's going to cost you this much per day, and then we want you to be about this much per day, and then food, you know, that's not too bad, but mostly that's where your money really kind of kills you, and then travel and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that's what really kills your money, really.
Right. So, what do you think about? I mean, you have different levels as far as an indie film. What is a fair rate for some of your actors a day? I mean, because I'm ignorant to that kind of stuff. Is what I mean? Are you paying? Is that kind of for your average doesn't have a lot of credits? Is it $50, $100, 150, 250? What is a fair? I'm not talking about your leads. Obviously, your leads should make something if you can pay them.
Yeah. Well, in beginning for mine and stuff, we all were in the same mindset of saying, excuse me, we're trying something new. Let's just do it. I think people get hung up on people's payments. And I'm like, as actors and people, and if you're starting off as an indie and you're starting off with your own thing, don't worry about payment so much. Like, you haven't done anything. There's no reason for anyone to get paid anything yet if you haven't proven anything. Like, you haven't done anything. Go
Sure.
out there and do something. It's like asking and say, listen, I want to make a great film. I want to make a great song. I got a great album in mind. Someone needs to pay me money to do this. I'm like, man, no, they make it first, and then let's see what happens. You got to create it first. I know it's going to pay someone to build a house before they sell it. You got to build the damn thing first, then you can sell it. So,
right.
So that when it comes about to, there was nothing that we all were in the same boat of saying we are having something new. These characters, for example, are theirs forever. Like, that's theirs. It's different than other productions where they're hired for a role, and when it's done, they go home and that's it. Here's your money. Get out of here. It's not like that for mine. Mine is more like, this is your role no matter what happens. Where we're going to go with this. This is yours now. So you build upon it. You work at it. This is this is yours. So that's what made it different for mine. When people want to pay an actor or anyone, it depends on the level and your budget and what you work with.
So you're saying you give them a little bit of ownership in that character?
I mean, I give it where it's their character, like, forever. Like, as long as they with the story. I mean, as long as they're with us and stuff, it's their character, and I'm not going to change them out unless they go nuts.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, so now it's better because I think what people like the series is that, anything you do, you can continue, you can build on it, you can work at it, you can see your problems and then work at it and just strengthen everything. So I think as anybody on like a series loves that. I mean, even people who write for it, anyone who's filming it, technically just filming everyone is strengthening their skill set because we're continuing with this same storyline, the same thing, and everyone starts to kind of, become like a family.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the pay and everything, now I'm starting to pay my actors because for the season 2, because they proved themselves. Like, they did it. We all did it. I wasn't getting paid. I'm an editor. I mean, there's no reason for it yet. There was no budget. So just make something first. But now, from me personally, we went out, we did it, we completed, and then now we got distribution, all that good stuff. And then I'm like, okay, then I'm going to go ahead for season 2 and be fair. And I just want to reward my guys with something.
Right.
So, but per day, it really depends on what you do. I'm a daily, I'll pay someone daily, and usually the price for that, to get to your question initially, it really depends. Like, if a principal, it depends upon your budget. If you have any at all, you kind of had to take a percentage from there. I think there's a percentage to that I just can't think about, that people that technically they look at.
Right.
So I would say, if you're a principal person and I say, like, whatever you're doing, $100 that day would be cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just say, this is $50.
Yeah.
Just to kind of,
I want to be
gas money. Yeah. Just give us something. Let's just see where this goes. Now, if they were going to get a job for Warner Brothers or CBS or NBC, then obviously, you expect something. But if it's just like, Barry Doc over here in this house wants to do something, don't expect to get anything. We're all trying to get to the same place. Let's just help each other out and get there first.
Sure. What are you on? What part of you are in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. So you film everything? You filmed all of that in Florida, correct?
Yeah, I filmed it in Florida because I'm here in Sarasota, Florida, and Manatee, Florida. Florida has like counties. I mean, I can go on forever.
Yeah.
It's like an anthill. It doesn't stop. It's hills everywhere. But everything is like a county. But I'm originally. Oh, excuse me. I just heard someone beside me. I'm originally from New York anyway. I'm born and bred. I'm a New Yorker. So coming down here, I can really, really kind of appreciate it. I'm from Queens.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, and I went to school in Brooklyn, college in Long Island. you know, so the furthest south I ever been was like Pennsylvania growing
Oh,
up. You know, I haven't been to the south. So, and the first time I went to the south was probably in late '90s,
uh-huh.
something like that. Was the first time I ever saw like Virginia or anything like that.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, oh, okay, you know. And then technically, this is the furthest south I ever been right now, as we speak, is Florida. I mean, I don't think you go any further south, you go into the water. But I think, you know, right now, this is, you know, this is pretty much, yeah. This is like I've only been here for 5 years with my wife, so I'm pretty new to all this. So
Right. Well, if you ever need a scene change, let us know, man. I'm in Birmingham, so man, we got all kind of hills and different
oh
old
yeah,
architecture and stuff, man. If you're ever filming anything, need a different spot, let us know, man. We'll push you up. We'll definitely on the
thank you, man.
anything.
No, I appreciate that, man.
I
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna need that. Trust me,
yeah.
it's coming.
We
Yeah.
got beds and property and everything else. You gotta let us know. But I will probably be like, you gotta make a part for me. I don't care. I'll stand in the back with a funny hat on.
No, no, hell yeah, man. Listen, Chris Bowland will be in a World of Worlds one day. You just have to find where he is. I'll have you
Yeah.
like the goon or something. Actually, you know what? I'll have you as a goon and you're gonna be fighting. So get ready.
That's it. I
You
can do
know, I
that
mean, you
part.
have
I
to
can
go
throw people and I can be thrown. I do that all the time. And
Hell
I
yeah.
can and my son said I can look menacing. So if you need somebody that's menacing looking, especially I'll just think about all the times he's made me mad and I'll just I'll pull my menacing
I
face
mean,
on.
to think about him, right? Stressing you
But
out.
you got a channel, right? That's what acting is. You gotta think about what
Yeah,
whether you're
man.
crying or whether you're laughing, you got to think about what a true thought, right? And that the way it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, you have to really kind of get into a place, you know, and it's not easy, you know. I mean, listen, actors sometimes for actors a lot of times they just know what to do. Like if that's what you do, you know, they just know how to get to that place, you know,
The,
and everyone is different.
the professional criers scare me. How in the hell can you cry on cue? I know there's
I tell
little
you what,
Shrek
man, that's
fan, but damn.
yeah, when people drop a tear, yo, I mean, some people just naturally have it. Like
Yeah,
that's something that you can't teach. You can
right.
tell people how to get there, but your body has to respond. And some
Yeah,
people's body responds really fast and they can just drop a tear like crazy. And others can't. You got to put the little, you know, the little someone in their
yeah.
eye and stuff like that and start making a tear, you know?
But even those guys, you can kind of tell it's like, they're crying, but are they really crying? When you see somebody that can just like you can see their body change and they can cry on a drop of a hat, and you can just kind of see their whole aura change. That's like those people scare me because that's it's like
But they got you though. See,
yeah,
you're convinced now.
don't
Oh, they're
ever
gonna do it.
yeah, don't ever have them against you in court. You're screwed.
Oh, you're done. You're done. Just drop it. Yeah, yeah. They're professionals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to look at my guys. My guys are like that too. They can just do whatever, you know. It's amazing. It's amazing what actors really do. I mean, I have to give, you know, people don't understand. People say, "Oh, well, acting is easy." It really, it really is, huh? You think so? Okay. When you act as yourself, sure. Once you go ahead and want you to be totally somebody else, I want you to be, you know, Caesar. I want you to be Malcolm X. I want you to be somebody that's totally not you, and then work it out. You know,
Right.
I always hate when I hear that from a lot of other like just other people who say, well, you know, I acted and acting is pretty easy. And I, you know, and these are larger people who have big shows or whatever. And I always look at them as like, you know, in moments, yes, it can be, but
Mhm.
overall, don't don't minimize the skill set of what these people do. You know, yeah, if I come in and say, yeah, just act like what you normally can do normally, yeah, sure. You know, but what they do is to go to another place, then come back to me and talk when I want you to be totally different. You know, you have to get the accent down. You have to get your body adjusted right when it comes to physicalities, dieting, working out, things like that. You know, and then reading books upon books about this person or whatever, and trying to get the dialect, speaking to their families and see all of their gestures. So you yourself as a fan or a follower would say, oh, he's getting those gestures right because that's what he or she did. Now that is an entire skill set. And when it comes down to saying acting is simple, I'm like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Just stop talking about something you have no idea about. Or
Yeah.
because you dipped your toe in it. Of course, you know what they're gonna do is, and this is one thing too, it gets me a lot of times, as you say, getting revved up because those people who say, hey, listen, we want you to be in the movie, they personally know this is all you can do because you're not a pro. So we're gonna give you something simple. And then that person comes out of that experience on air or whatever or somewhere and says, acting is easy. No, motherfucker, because the person who hired you knew that's all you can do.
That's
You know,
yeah,
that's all you can do, and they weren't even going to try to push it. You know, so please, you know, please.
well, that's a
So,
good
but
point. Let me ask you this real quick. Do you suggest, since you've been in this world for some time now, do you suggest up and coming actors when they're trying to gain experience to do what they know first? You know, not get typecast per se, but say, you know, if you're a good army guy or a good cop guy, is that the kind of things that you should go into as you build your skill set and then start fading out, or just dive into whatever you can get
I think and if you're just starting, the easiest way, the first thing you want to do is do something you feel very comfortable with, because it's all about um, it's all about having self-confidence.
to? Hmm.
And the only way to build self-confidence, do something that you feel already comfortable with, like something that's already pretty much your character, like you are as a person,
Hmm.
and you just saying lines and things like that. It's good because then you can see yourself and then you can build upon that. I wouldn't jump, like if you're new and jump into something kind of hard, like something like where you really have to kind of get into a place.
Hmm.
It would be very hard for you to do that, and you'll be overcompensating so much that you probably just look really bad. Now, some people do have the talent, you know what I mean? Like they're just
Hmm.
born with it. It comes in
Yeah.
easy. But just for the general person that wants to get into it and they're really feeling it, yeah, that'd be the easiest way, you know. So, you know, do the little, you know, I love football. So to use a football analogy, you know, you want the quarterback to do some dink and dunks to have some self-confidence. And then when he's feeling good about himself, then he'll go for a long ball.
Right.
But don't
Right.
come out to jump with the very first play going for a 35-yard pass down the middle. I mean, you more than likely you'll get intercepted or you'll get sacked or something's going to happen. You know,
Right.
you got to build upon it. So the same way for actors, just do that first, and get your feet wet. And two, I just want to add to Chris is with this when you do that, not only are you getting yourself prepared, you know, and getting yourself confidence. Now you also getting of having other actors and being on the set and seeing how that works. Just coming into the world to see how things work, what people expect from you. You are working with people that you have never met before,
Hmm.
and you have to kind of be with them all the time. You may come out and not even like those guys. You may even like the person, you know, but you have to be with this person and talk
Right.
to this person and act with this person in ways that you normally wouldn't because maybe you don't like them. And then go through this the whole process of people have been demanding you to do certain things or just expecting you to be a certain way and asking you to do things over and over again. That whole life experience, just that whole process is really why the first thing you want to do is do a role that you don't have to think as much because you got to get used to the world and you're in.
Yeah. It's when you say you may not like that person, it's like the people that have to do maybe a love interest. I don't mean like a sex scene or nothing, but they just have to pretend like they care about each other and love each other,
Yeah.
and they may when they say cut, they might walk apart and go, I hate that.
Exactly. They do. They're like, Dad, I gotta kiss this mother. You know, it's like cheating. You know, it's like, oh, you know, and you got to think about it too. It's like when it comes to that, I mean, you see it all the time on TV, right? If you turn to a show and someone's in bed with each other all the time, and it could be a regular show, just in bed with each other, talking, or hugging, or kissing, or whatever. And it's kind of like, yeah, they may not even like each other at all. You know, the women may think the guy smells, and that happened a lot. You know, some people just don't prepare themselves. It's like, listen, man, if you're gonna be close to anybody all the time, make sure your mouth is right.
Right.
That's huge. Make sure your mouth and there's just your hygiene is on point. And just you know, I remember Jack Nicholson was big with that. You know, I remember years ago when he used to like do his roles that he always made sure that his mouth was right all the time,
Right.
like out the jump. He used to brush his teeth before the shoot. Who have
Hmm.
something in his mouth, bite it first, and make sure that when he's close, everything is fine. You know,
Right.
so you don't want that. So yeah, exactly. You know, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but this is the experiences that people just don't, you know, they forget about that. You know, it's not about just going from a camera and just talking and doing your thing, man. You got an entire army of people around you that you have to deal with. No different than when you go to an office and you have to sit down and you worry about the boss doing this or work coming this way, and somebody around you really can't stand, but you still got to work with them. And that whole thing, you know, you got to do it again every day and go back and do it again every day. It's the same thing. You know, but this time it's harder because now you have to manipulate your feelings. At least at work, you can go to the bathroom, you can be by yourself, you can just do your thing. But now, you know, you have to be in front of people and actually change your way of thought.
Whole
and
body
deal
mannerisms, right?
everything. Yeah, you got to remember lines, and you got to be this way. You may not feel this way. You may have a personal problem at home.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, we got to get together face to
Yeah.
face. I think I don't know what I could do for you as far as being in movies and stuff like that, but I think you'd be a great director, somebody to work under. I'd like to at least try out for a couple things for you just to see what you're doing. If you're doing anything,
Yeah.
just let us know. I know we look forward to the second season coming out.
Thank you.
A
Thank you.
World of
Yeah.
Worlds
Yeah.
is, I think, if everybody listening, go to Amazon, check out a World of Worlds. It is a great show, and I'm saying that because I'm not a sci-fi guy. I mean, of course, I like Star Wars and different things like that, but that's not necessarily a genre I've always looked for. But it's a great
Yeah.
show. Our girl Constance is going to be on the second season. We want to make sure
Mhm.
that you check her out,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a great role for her. And
No,
so,
it is. I mean, she's the new girl for us, so so it's going to be really cool. And in my entire cast, I have to get a shout out to my guys who've been with me for 4 years: Rob Rios, Daphne Bless Averill, Maria Levy, Zachary Vasquez, Desiree Rosbeck, and my assistant Christine Kittle, my prop master Theodore Burt. I mean, these guys, of course, my wife, who's the engine of all this, Nicole Gaines. These are the people who've been with me for so long, and we just keep at it, And we're just hoping that people will like the second season. But right now, we do want to say this though: people who go on Amazon for World of Worlds, there is a problem with like trying to find it. So everyone, please go to my website at gainsentertainment.com or aworldofworlds.com. But Gains Entertainment is the easiest way, and the link is there. So for some reason, Amazon is not, it's you can't find it. Like they're having an issue. I'm working with the distributor. It's there. Don't get me wrong. It's there. It's just
just
that
hidden.
it's not searchable. You have to put in my name, Barry Gaines, and then you'll see it.
Okay.
So they're having an issue with it. So I'm it's having a problem, but it's there. But go to my website. Everything is there. The links are there, and I appreciate everybody who takes a look at it. If you like it or not, just have fun with it. And eventually, Chris Bowlen will be in it. Look for that man, and he's going to be either some whooping some butt, or he's going to get his butt whooped. But
That's
he's
right.
going to be
I'll
in there
take whatever.
somewhere.
Whatever
Yeah, so I may just have him whoop some butt a little bit,
Yeah, you got to give me a moment of glory, just a moment. At least one good.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put like the hair on you. I'm gonna put some makeup on you, bro. It's gonna be classic. I mean, your grandkids are gonna be like, "Is that Grandpa from the days?" It's like, yeah, man, he's whooping some ass back in the days.
That's exactly right.
He's talking on a mic.
That's right. Well, hang on with it. Hang on with me, boss. I'm gonna get us our exit music out. All right, but everybody, make sure that you check out Barry, A World of Worlds, all his social media. Make sure you check out all our social media. We're on all the channels: YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Like, subscribe, and please keep checking us out. Barry, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, brother.
All right,
thank you so much for having me on, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, bye.